Well, good evening. Welcome to our Tuesday evening Lifewave X39 explanation and summary. I'm Gregory Muscari up here in Bozeman, Montana. Robin's trying to get in, as well as Dr. Barber. We're having a little technical difficulty, but I usually do the first part of the event anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen and go right into the initial front end of our presentation. So please hold on just a moment and we'll go back to, I'm going to try promoting out Robin one more time here and see if we can get her in as a co-host with us. There she's in again. Okay, promote to panelist. Okay, so it's working now. So there we go. Make co-host. I now pronounce you co-host. So let's see if it worked. Don't we love it when technology works?
It has been a technology challenge day, but glad to have you with us. And yes, this is the introductory call for Lifewave, where we share a little bit about the company, the history, the founder. And then we bring on a special guest, and tonight we have Dr. Barbara, if we can get her in, and we're working on it. So thank you for your patience, everyone, as we move into this. And then it's time for you, after Gregory does his presentation and we have Dr. Barbara come on, then it's time for you to share your stories and questions. And you do that in the Q&A section. And to make sure that you get your question answered or addressed, make sure it's symptoms only, and you put it in the chat soon, or in the Q&A section sooner versus later. So now we get to turn things over to Gregory for his short presentation on the introduction to Lifewave. Over to you, honey.
Great, thanks, Robin. Okay, well, let's talk about activating your stem cells with Lifewave X39. And I came to a realization a number of years ago. I finally figured out what I want to be when I get older, younger. And I bet you some of you can relate to that. And I'm going to ask you a question just to kind of put something in the back of your mind to ponder as we're going through the presentation tonight. If anything were possible, what's one thing you choose to experience differently in your health or in the health of someone you love and care for? And what difference would it make for you or them if that were to change? Just ponder that. And we all know someone we love and care for. Maybe it's us. Maybe we've got some physical challenges that we're dealing with. Before we get started, I want to make a note that our products are not designed or intended to heal, treat, or diagnose any disease. They do, however, help our bodies get back into a more healthy and regenerative mode, and many times wonderful things begin to happen. So let's talk about the stem cell revolution, because we believe everyone wants to look, feel, and live younger. And stem cells are the key because they're a vital part of our immune system that helps to repair and regenerate damaged cells all throughout our body. Every organ, gland, muscle, bone, all of our skin, all the tissue throughout our entire body. Stem cells are our little repair crew that go around fixing things up to keep us young and vital. Well, the problem is, the older we get, the less stem cells we have. And by age 60, only a small percentage remains. And sadly, the fewer stem cells we have, the faster we age and the slower we heal. And neither of those sound very cool to me. So, and what about stem cell injections? Because they become quite popular, but you know what? They're pretty expensive. They can be painful, risky, controversial. And you can spend thousands or tens of thousands of dollars with no guaranteed results. Well, the good news today is you can look, feel, perform, and live younger with our historic breakthrough in stem cell activation. It's a brand new wearable technology in patch form. It's affordable, it's safe, it's non-invasive, and it's drug-free. Nothing going into your body but light frequencies. And we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. It's a patented form of phototherapy that uses specific frequencies of light to increase and improve our stem cell activity. Now, this is the brainchild of David Schmidt, our visionary founder and CEO. And David is not only a brilliant scientist and researcher, he's also a genius inventor with over 130 patents and patent pendings. And David's been on the leading edge of phototherapy research and science for over 20 years. And he's already conducted over 80 clinical studies proving the efficacy of our Lifewave phototherapy products. Now, many more studies are always in the works because David is a very science-focused individual, and Lifewave is a very science-focused advanced technology company focused in health sciences. It was started back in 2004 based on an energy-enhancing technology David developed under a government contract for Navy SEALs to help them increase their strength, stamina, and performance without the use of drugs, stimulants, or caffeine. It turned out to be so effective, it's now used by world-class athletes all around the world. We have corporate headquarters, laboratory, and manufacturing in California, Utah, and Ireland. And we already have global distribution to over 75 countries with 15 global distribution centers. So the word is getting out, and Lifewave patches are now used by pro and amateur athletes around the world in almost every sport. The media has begun to notice, and you know what? You might too, if you look careful at some of your favorite athletes and Olympians, and you see these auspicious little white patches on their bodies. That's Lifewave. That's phototherapy. So how does this amazing technology work? Well, it's based on a type of light therapy called photobiomodulation. That's kind of a mouthful, but what basically it means is Lifewave patches contain very specific combinations of organic materials and nanocrystals. And when they're applied or near your body, they're activated by our body heat, and then they begin to re-emit very specific wavelengths of light, which stimulate targeted and beneficial biochemical responses in our body. And this is known as photobiomodulation, and it is the basis of our Lifewave phototherapy patches. Now, it's been a well-recognized and proven scientific principle that specific frequencies of light can cause specific changes within our body. For example, when we go out in the sun, one specific frequency of light causes our body to make vitamin D. Another frequency of sunlight causes our body to make melanin, the chemical that gives us a suntan. Well, Lifewave's patented technology is based on the same rock-solid, well-recognized, widely accepted scientific principle. And our focus for the last 14 years has been in the exciting field of anti-aging and regenerative science. And a little over 3 years ago, in January of 2019, we released to the global market the Lifewave X39 stem cell activation patch, which is truly a historic and affordable breakthrough in stem cell activation. And some are actually calling it the holy grail of anti-aging and restorative science, because we are doing what the multi-billion-dollar companies and big pharma have not been able to do. X39 actually activates a very specific copper peptide that activates our body's own stem cells, and at the same time altering gene expression towards a younger and more vibrant you. So it's truly a game changer. X39 is a breakthrough, and our founder and CEO, David Schmidt, says it's my greatest achievement yet, with an emphasis on yet, because David spends more time in the laboratory than he does in his office. And yes, we have patents. Yes, we have clinical studies. Yes, we have tremendous field results proving that X39 is actually turning back our biological clock, helping people to look, feel, perform, and live younger. And for us boomers, this is a very, very exciting thing to find out. So that's my little tee up for this evening's call. And I'm going to turn it back to Robin to introduce our special guest tonight.
Well, thank you, Gregory. That was wonderful. It's a great summary of a very special company at a very special time. And for those of you that are guests, I hope you were taking notes, as this call is designed for you. So we get to bring on one of our amazing practitioners, and Lifewave attracts literally thousands of healthcare practitioners, MDs, NDs, DCs, acupuncturists, and massage therapists, because we have this amazing product with, as Gregory mentioned, the clinicals behind it. But more importantly, it enhances the clinical outcome of what they're able to do with their patients and clients. So tonight, we have a special treat with Dr. Barbara Jennings, and she is a chiropractor out of Fort Collins, Colorado. although her tool chest is filled with many, many other tools, and she has many dimensions of things she does with people that really support their natural healing. And she's a mother with 7 children. She is originally a classical pianist and had a very serious illness and was really supported beautifully by a natural practitioner and then became a chiropractor. So she does functional medicine and she works with people, in person, and she has a practice, a telemedicine practice. She loves working with people struggling with thyroid and autoimmune conditions. And if any of you have ever had hormone issues, autoimmune thyroid, it's not easy to find someone who knows what they're doing. Matter of fact, it's near impossible, but she does. And she's a wonderful, wonderful resource. So she's taught Nia. She's been using X39 and sharing it in her practice since September of 2019. And I want to welcome Dr. Barbara this evening. There she is. Hi.
Hello,
Nice.
Welcome.
Nice to see you. Aloha. I should say aloha. Didn't you just get back from Hawaii?
I did. 2 weeks in Maui. It was fantastic.
All right. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. There's a special energy over there, So
Really?
let's jump in because people always want to know, as a practitioner, you're utilizing this technology in your practice. What actually got you interested enough to try it and then to use it with your patients and clients?
What got me interested enough to try it was my friend Michelle Niels, and just having known her for a long time, many years. So that in combination with activating your stem cells, right? So that got my attention and was enough to just make me curious enough to give it a try.
Wonderful. And I know people would love to hear a few of your favorite stories. You tried it out. I know you're experimenting on some of your patients at first until you developed your own belief system, but could you share a few brief stories because people love to hear stories?
Yes. Oh my goodness, I have lots of them.
I know you do. You have a whole bunch of them.
I could take all night. Let's see. So actually, two of my favorite stories are the first 2 patients I asked if they wanted to try these. And that's Donnie and Bob and Kay. And Bob and Kay are an elderly couple. They're married. And Bob at the time was 86 years old. And we just learned from Gregory that most people were not making stem cells past the age of 70. And so at 86, he suffered a compression fracture of his T12 vertebra, boom, which is extremely painful. And at that age, they told him he would take about 9 months to heal. And they told him that he would need to be on prednisone and a painkiller for 6 to 9 months. And I found out about this after 2 months. So for 2 months, he had been sitting in a chair, really grumpy and in pain and driving poor Kay bonkers.
Oh, no.
And he couldn't do anything. He couldn't move. He was in too much pain. And he really didn't want to be on these medications. So I said, hey, I just got these stem cell activation patches, right? I think they could probably help. Do you want to try them? And she's like, how fast can I get them? Because sometimes you're right there, like as fast as I can. Yes. And remember, 6 to 9 months needing those 2 medications. 1 month later, so 1 month on patches on X39, he came in, walked in my office with a big smile, no medication whatsoever. And he said, I feel great. So in 1 month, he was able to wean off both the steroid for inflammation and the painkiller, and he was up and around with a smile. And that's pretty impressive. That's really impressive. Yeah. one other story that I like to share is of Donnie, who had, he was a lifetime handyman and a lot of work up here and a lot of work down below, and just had some bad shoulders. And one of them was really bad, and so bad sometimes that he couldn't even reach his arm back to put on his own shirt or jacket. And so I asked him and his wife, Jaren, like, do you want to try these for your shoulder? Let's see what they can do. And they said, yes, absolutely. And in 3 or 4 days, he was able to not only lift his arm all the way up. I didn't tell you before, he couldn't go further than this. 90 degrees, pain was too much to go any further. So he could go about this high and could put his own jacket on again, and results that fast with those pretty chronic or serious issues that converted me pretty quickly.
Thank you so much for that. Increasing quality of life and helping people accelerate their healing is such a gift, such a gift. So let's jump in a little bit about some specifics, like who are these patches for and who are they not for?
Mm-hmm. They're for just about everybody. Really just about everybody. And I believe everybody can benefit from more stem cells. You may not need to put them on a baby. Babies have the most stem cells, but most people could use more if they had them. And most people need more if they don't have any or very few. So the people who are not recommended to use the stem cell activation patch is a very small group of people. And those are people who have had an organ transplant. The reason is that this can support your immune system. And so those people who are on immunosuppressive drugs probably should use the other patches, but not this one.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And it's not recommended to use during the course of chemotherapy. And if you're pregnant, you make your own decision because it's not tested on pregnant women, as most things are not.
Yeah. Who wants to be a guinea pig when you're pregnant, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
they're really, and like Gregory shared, they're safe. There's nothing going in your body. So there's nothing to counterindicate anything because nothing's going in.
right.
And so when people start using them, how long can they expect before they notice something?
There is no way to tell, because it would be wonderful. I would love if I could tell people a time where they could expect to see something, but it's a huge variable. It really depends on the person, their whole history, their diet, how much inflammation, what their body wants to do with those stem cells first and second and third, because those may or may not be noticeable things. So what I tell people is, whether you feel it or not, it's working, and just wait. And you might feel it on day 1. You might feel it in a week. It took me about 5 or 6 days before I had a noticeable, wow, I feel better. But some people, it's 3 months, 4 months. And, just good things are happening. You stay hydrated and make sure you have enough copper in your body, in your diet, to make the copper peptide, because that's what really happens. The patch stimulates our bodies to make more of this GHK copper peptide. After that is increased, then we get the stem cell production increase.
Okay.
So the copper in the diet is an important part to have in the picture.
Well, you just led me into the right question. Next question is, what are the optimal conditions to get the maximum benefit?
Yeah, well, copper, you've got to have copper in your diet. The GHK copper peptide it's a great peptide, right? You're born with a lot of it. It decreases over time with age, as many things do, as your stem cells do. And it has a very close relationship with stem cells in the body. So what the light frequency in the patch does is stimulate making more copper peptide, and then we get the stem cell increase after that. And the second thing is to stay hydrated. You know, don't be dehydrated. It works best when your cells have enough water, when you have good circulation to move things around, when your lymphatic system can carry things. So good hydration and minerals and copper, and you're good to go.
I love it. Oh, I might add one more thing.
Mhm.
Consistency.
Oh yeah, yes. Yes, that's a given, right? Wear one every day. If it's not
Every
on you,
day.
it can't work.
12 hours on, 12 hours off. The body needs a break from the signal, good hydration, being consistent, and having copper and minerals, because many people are deficient in minerals. So is there, can people have a negative response to this or not feel good?
People can have what may seem like a negative response because it can seem to bring up old symptoms. It may seem like it's exacerbating an existing symptom, but that's actually not a bad thing, because as your body is replacing old cells, damaged cells, expired cells, those cells are sloughed off into a joint space, for instance. And so if you have a bad knee and you start wearing this patch and suddenly your knee feels more inflamed or more tender and sore, it's not making it worse. It's actually working. It's replacing those cells. Those cells have to be cleaned up, right? Your immune system has to come in, your lymphatic system has to come in and get the old stuff out of the joint space. So if you do have an experience where you feel worse, you can decrease the number of hours you wear the patch. You don't have to wear it for 12 hours. You can wear it for any number up to 12 hours, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. Or you may just say, okay, this is a possible effect of wearing this patch, and I'll just stick it out. So in my experience, if that happens, it doesn't last very long, usually a couple of days, sometimes one day, maybe a week, usually not longer than that.
I remember vividly when it did happen to me. I had an old injury get reactivated in my upper arm, and I called Dr. Nicholas. He goes, "Oh, that's good." And I went, "It doesn't feel good." He said, "It's working."
Yep.
And sometimes it may feel a little uncomfortable when those damaged cells are leaving our body and creating a little inflammatory discomfort or pain or something, but it's a good thing, and it is working. But what Dr. Barber said is so true. Different than when you're ingesting something, you can't take it off, but the patch you can take off. And that's what I did. I took it off temporarily, and I worked back up to the 12 hours, and that, that discomfort and pain was gone, and it's better than it was before. So
Yeah.
especially people that have use their bodies a lot, and they've been through a lot, athletes that have, they're using their bodies a lot, or people that have had accidents, illnesses. It's a good thing when you feel that, because it is working. So
Yes.
any other final comments from you before we get to some of the questions? We have a whole bunch tonight.
Great. Other comments?
Anything
No?
else you want to share before we shift to our audience? Okay. All right.
No, I just really encourage people to use them consistently and give them time. One story I
And
didn't
we
share,
take
but
your question, the Q&A section.
oh, I'm not sure what that was.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
My husband had a
ahead.
shoulder injury, a pretty significant shoulder injury, where he couldn't lift his arm, he couldn't curl any weight, he couldn't even hold a plank position or do a push-up. And this is a guy who usually does 85 push-ups every other day. And I didn't know how much these patches could help his shoulder. I just knew that they would help. And so he wore it religiously right here on his shoulder where it hurt the most. And he wore it every day. And within 3 months, he was back to doing 65 push-ups. You know, he had a rotator cuff injury for sure. But 6 months later, he suddenly realized he was sleeping on his left side, which he had not done for 20 years because of his really inflamed shoulder that hurt. And so in 3 months, the injury was mostly repaired, but after about 9 months, major other things had happened, and he was now able to sleep on his left side.
Isn't it fun when a loved one has such great improvements?
Yeah.
It's wonderful when anybody does, but when someone who's close to you, and that builds a skeptic into a believer for sure. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for that. And
Yeah.
it just gets better and better over time
Mhm.
because the impact and the benefits are cumulative. So let's jump
Yeah.
in and see what our participants want to know about.
Okay.
Angela's asking, do you have any patch recommendations for teens with a persistent difficulty focusing or being overactive and impulsive, and therefore struggling with academics? You seem like you know that one.
Well, yeah. So my seventh child is now 12 and a half. And so I have some experience with this. So a few things. Number one, really very important is diet. You have to address their diet, and hopefully they will buy in, right? Hopefully they want to feel better and do better, and avoid sugar, especially sugar and artificial colors. So excitotoxins, artificial sweeteners or flavors, artificial colors. They really do ramp up your brain and overexcite the brain. So that's really important. Number two, I would use X39 with them, and definitely try the head protocol, or sometimes people will call it the hat protocol, but it really helps the brain organize signals better. It helps the brain communicate front to back, side to side in a more organized way. And a lot of good things happen with that. You could also try the Nirvana patch. That can really help support more balanced activity in the brain.
Beautiful. And there's several patches that work with the brain, and we do have diagrams and things for the hat and protocol that Dr. Barbara was mentioning.
Yeah,
Thank
the
you
head
for that.
protocol uses the energy enhancer patches, the Eon, and the glutathione patch.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
Casey has an interested grandmother who wants to know if any patches could help her grandson who was unable to process an amino acid found in protein. He's limited to the number of protein grams he can have daily, with the very serious consequences if he goes over.
I'm reading it here.
Okay, great.
Okay. So the patches that I just mentioned, that's what I would use for this situation as well. I would use the Eon patch, the glutathione patch, and the X39 patches. I would start there.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, Michael, his wife was recently hospitalized and couldn't breathe from having fluid in her lung and swollen left foot. She's home and doing better on new meds. We've been using patches for almost 2 years. Do you have any additional recommendations or specific for her?
Well, which patches?
Yeah.
Which patches are you using? So for, yes, I do. I would use both glutathione and energy enhancer patches on the lung points here and here. I would also use a second set of energy enhancer patches on the kidney 1 points on the bottom of the feet. And of course, you want to be using the X39 patches. New meds, I don't know more details than that, but that's a good place to start.
Yeah, great. And for people that have serious conditions, you can reach Dr. Barbara and we'll have her put her contact info into the chat to have a private consult because, it's really important and we don't have a lot of time to go into details. And typically, as you know, a good practitioner is going to want to ask a bunch of questions to get more information to give the best information for you. Okay, Stephanie, I just tried using the X39. I started about 9 days ago intermittently and have had some side effects that are not comfortable. Headaches, nerve irritation, feeling woozy. Because the symptoms aren't comfortable and happen upon applying the patch, I only wear for short periods of time. Are these symptoms to be expected? I've been wearing them on the back of my neck. Would placing in another location make a difference?
It might. You can try wearing it under your navel. I don't know how short your short periods of time are, but that's probably what I would recommend you do. Wear it, start with between 2 and 4 hours a day and then work up from there. Are they to be expected? No, but are they really uncommon? No. Most people don't have those, those effects, but they're not super uncommon either.
It's like what you talked about earlier. It can
Right.
happen when they're really working. So
Yeah, I'd also like to just know, are you only wearing X39? Because sometimes I'll see those symptoms show up in people who are starting the glutathione patch. And that's probably the most important one to start slower, meaning with shorter amounts of time and workup.
great. Thank you for that. Okay. And Christina wants to know, in the published study in X39, what is the percentage increase in the copper peptide? We looked in the double-blind placebo and it isn't clear what the increase was. Do you have any idea about that?
Not off the top of my head. I'd have to open the study and look at it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
I just
Great.
know it was statistically significant.
Right. That's hard to say that. You did a really good job. Okay, Rainey. Someone I know has pain in the woman's area where tissue that should be inside the uterus is outside. Pain, cramps, infertility problems. What would you recommend?
Well, you need to fix that. And so there are different approaches you can take. Structurally, what's outside should be put back in. There are some really gifted physical therapists who might be able to, who do visceral manipulation, who might be able to help with that. Sometimes surgery is required to pin the uterus back up. But I would not continue living with it that way. Of course, it's going to be uncomfortable and painful.
Yeah.
So infertility, if this is a young woman and, infertility is an issue, then you probably need at least 2 good practitioners to help. A good OBGYN. I would find a good physical therapist who or pelvic floor specialist who could help with that.
Great. Thank you so much. Carola, we have a friend in his mid-50s and his knee is bone on bone. He wants to avoid the knee surgery if possible. Are there patches that we could refer to him to get the results he's looking for?
Other patches we should refer to him. Bone on bone. Oh, of course. X39 and 49. I would really encourage him to wear both. you're going to get even more collagen production. I think it's up to 4 times more if you use X49 with X39 together. And guess what cartilage is made of? It's made of collagen proteins. So stay well hydrated, use the patches. I would also recommend using the Eon patch on one side of the knee and the glutathione patch on the opposite side of the knee. It doesn't matter which side, it can be side to side, front to back, but really targeting that joint to decrease inflammation, because stem cells can work faster and better when there is less inflammation going on.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
I know a lot about those knee bone on bone things. I have been there.
Yeah,
I
that is
did
your
have a knee
story.
replacement and had dramatically fast recovery. Okay, Larry wants to know, can the X39 patch rebuild a damaged heart? You're talking physically or emotionally? Sorry, I couldn't help. Yeah,
Right. Well, the beauty of stem cells is that your body will use them to repair whatever it can and whatever it's able to, whatever it wants to. So if it is repairable, then having more stem cells will just help that happen faster and better.
okay, great. One or two more? You got time?
I do.
Okay, great. So do you have a suggestion for chronic dry eye? That's from OF.
Chronic dry eye. So I would want to know if that's part of a bigger issue, like, an autoimmune condition that decreases or that affects all of the mucous membranes. So there, so that would change my answer, actually, depending on whether there's an autoimmune condition present or not. But in general, you cannot go wrong with X39, Eon, and glutathione. And I would wear them. I would wear them here, maybe on the inside of an eye mask, so they're over your eyes while you're sleeping. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And then we're going to end up with an anonymous attendee. Would you recommend wearing X39 during the day or night while sleeping? Is it beneficial if you only wear it 1 to 2 hours at a time?
You can wear it either way. Some people prefer daytime. I think some people feel more energized when they're wearing the patch. Other people sleep better at night when they wear it at night. So I would say try both ways and see which works best for you. If, some people like the idea of wearing it at night because we heal during sleep. But if you wear it all day, then you're going to be making more copper peptide and making more stem cells. You'll have plenty of stem cells overnight to put to work. So I don't think that's a huge deal. It's really personal preference and where you feel most comfortable, or, if it disrupts your sleep because you're energized, then wear it during the day.
Beautiful.
And is it still beneficial? Yeah. It'll be beneficial if you wear it 1 to 2 hours at a time. I would hope that you can increase that time pretty quickly. My experience is if a person needs to decrease time and cut down to 2 hours, it doesn't take long, maybe a couple of weeks, 1 to 3 weeks before they can work up to a full 12 hours. So
Beautiful.
if that's you and you think, you're nervous about increasing the time, I would say you're probably going to be able to increase the time faster than you would guess.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara. Always a treat to have you and learn from you. And thank you everyone for joining us this evening, taking time out of a summer night to be with us and to continue to learn about this incredible technology that, Karen O'Neill in our morning, we call it the Monday morning miracle call, but she goes, they're really not miracles. It's science. It's just a science that seems like a miracle. And we get to hear wonderful stories all the time. And we love hearing your stories. So thank you all for being here. And if you're a guest this evening, or you're just checking out Lifewave for the very first time, please get back to the person that invited you. And we invite you to get started. There's no risk to start with Lifewave. There is a 30-day risk-free guarantee. And as Gregory says, you've got nothing to lose but your health to gain. And we do recommend you give the patches 60 to 90 days, because whatever your condition is, it probably didn't happen overnight unless it was an accident. And so give it some time. And the body is truly a miracle. It's the body that's doing the work. So thank you, everyone, for being with us. We're so grateful to be able to share this magnificent technology that's making a huge difference in improving the quality of people's lives. So we get to say good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.